partnership at Nevada Public Radio. I want to sincerely thank everyone who donated during our fall fundraiser. You not only made the goal, but surpassed it, raising more than $100,000 for Nevada Public Radio. And because of you, 55,000 meals will be donated to 3 Square Food Bank, funded in your name, thanks to MGM Resorts International. Your generous support strengthens our ability to keep working in service of the truth. It means our reporting can continue to keep audience connected to the world and each other. We appreciate your trust, and we promise to keep earning it. If you still want to donate to the fall fundraiser, please do so at knpr.org. 3 Square Meals, our fall sticker, and vouchers for a Mega Mart are still available through September 30th. But our gratitude, that goes on forever. Thank you.
Support for Nevada Public Radio comes from the UNLV Performing Arts Center, featuring pianist Conrad Tao and tap dancer Calum Teicher performing together in Counterpoint, Friday, October 6th at 7:30 p.m. Information at pac.unlv.edu.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and from your NPR station. From MathWorks, creators of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And Made in Cookware. Made in Cookware is crafted by chefs for chefs and designed for restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware can be found at madeincookware.com.
It's Here and Now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will again be center stage tonight at the second Republican presidential debate. His rival Nikki Haley will be on one side, Vivek Ramaswamy on the other. Also, Chris Christie, Tim Scott, Doug Burgum, and Mike Pence will be there, and the long shadow of Donald Trump will loom. NPR's Franco Ordonez will be watching. Hey, Franco.
Hey, Scott.
To be clear, former President Trump is skipping this GOP debate again. I guess when you're lapping the field in polls, you can do that. The last time around, the candidates didn't talk about him much. Will the gloves come off tonight?
I think it's possible. I've been speaking with Republican strategists who tell me that one of the big differences for today's debate in comparison to the last one in Wisconsin is going to be the audience. Last time, you remember, any candidate who actually even attempted to critique Trump even in the littlest bit was booed and shouted down. Mm-hmm. And the strategists tell me that that's likely not going to happen tonight, and that's because it's at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, which means it's likely to be a more traditional mainstream Republican audience. So they may be a little bit more sympathetic to candidates who raise various concerns about Trump, his legal troubles, his policies, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, in the last debate, Nikki Haley gained a fair bit of attention for being what she called the adult in the room, as did Vivek Ramaswamy, very skilled debater. Who has momentum going in? Who doesn't?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how those two do and if they keep the momentum. Nikki Haley, she's kind of emerged as one of the leading alternatives to Trump now that DeSantis has kind of faded away. I'll be particularly curious about when she talks about abortion. She drew a lot of attention in the last debate as she's kind of trying to craft this pro-life message that doesn't alienate moderate Republicans or swing voters. Mm-hmm. As for Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm really curious to see whether he puts a little bit more meat on the bone on a policy perspective. A lot of the attention he drew was kind of taking this outsider position, mixing it up with opponents, kind of like Trump used to do. And I think there's a lot of interest to see if he puts a little bit more concrete ideas out there.
As you mentioned, this debate is happening at the Reagan Presidential Library in California. And we remember Ronald Reagan famously talked about America's place in the world, internationalist, a muscular foreign policy of Cold War alliances. The Republican Party has changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, I think that is one thing that is going to come out in today's debate. When I talk to Republican strategists, they talk a lot about how these primaries are basically a fight between these old school conservative ideas that you just mentioned versus kind of like this changing populism movement. And that's something that you're going to see today. Guys like Vice President Mike Pence, he represents that old school conservatism, but he's actually going to be standing at a podium that's kind of very on the edge of the stage, which I think reflects how things have changed.
Yeah, and quickly, what happens after this debate? Will the field narrow quickly?
I mean, I think it's very possible they really need to start narrowing the field, and these old school Republicans really want them to narrow the field because they're hoping for an alternative to Trump. So we'll see if this starts that ball rolling.
Franco Ordonez is NPR White House correspondent. Franco, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
You're listening to Hear It Now.
It sounds like a fairy tale. She was a high school music teacher who sold her violin to help build cable powerhouse BET.
That was the birth of all of cable, but no one was paying attention to the African-American voice.
Behind the scenes, she says, the fairy tale was a nightmare. BET co-founder Sheila Johnson tells her story on the next morning edition from NPR News.
I'm Susan Levy. Democratic U.S. Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey has left Manhattan federal court without speaking to reporters. He pleaded not guilty to federal charges accusing him of pocketing bribes of cash and gold bars. As his Republican rivals gather on stage in California tonight for their second primary debate, former President Donald Trump will be in battleground Michigan, working to win over blue-collar voters in the midst of an auto workers strike. Trump's trip comes one day after President Biden walked a picket line with United Auto Workers in Detroit. Hyundai and Kia are recalling nearly 3.4 million vehicles in the U.S., telling owners to park them outside due to the risk of engine compartment fires. The recalls over multiple models from 2010 through 2019. You're listening to Hear It Now.
In the world of high-end fashion, designers look for inspiration all over the globe. But when a company in Italy takes a style from ethnic artisans in Southeast Asia, some call that plagiarism.
When it came out, there was nothing saying this was the Oma or even the Asian or tribal line.
Big fashion profit from local traditions next time on The World. This afternoon at 2 on KNPR and knpr.org.
Head to knpr.org and register to win one of 5 pairs of tickets to Chicago at the Venetian Theater, performing a limited engagement February 21st through March 9th. Register by Friday to qualify. Sustaining members receive a bonus entry at knpr.org.